Hi, everybody. Welcome to Queers and Soaps. I'm Tommy, and today I'm joined by Angel and Eric.
I'm pathetic Lynn.
Paul and Lynn.
So, I don't know about you two, but I'm really excited because we are going to be talking about Sheila Carter during her first run on The Young and the Restless. We watched an edit of clips from when she first came on the show, and it's a little spotty, so it's cumulatively about 7 episodes, but it spans about 2 months. So we're going to talk about what we watched, so I'll roll the credits and we'll get into it. Okay, so we see Sheila at first working as a nurse, and Lauren comes into the hospital because she's having some stomach pains.
Did she have a badge on? Because I didn't even do we even know her name in the beginning?
Sheila?
Did she have? Yeah. I don't remember seeing a badge, so it was like I guess this is just like a random nurse. We're just basically like she's just here to help Sheila.
Maybe.
Or I didn't really know. Lauren.
I know she had a hat on, which nurses don't have hats on anymore.
Yeah.
I wondered when that stopped. At least on TV.
So I started at the hospital in 1996, and we were all not we, because we had different uniforms, but the nurses all had like scrubs at that time. I think you could mix and match colors. There was one nurse that still wore that uniform, hat and all. Really? 1996. So I don't know when it changed, but she was not having it. She wore it, I think, almost to the bitter end of her. She retired, but it was pretty funny.
That's funny.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like on days, I don't even really know when that changed either. But
Hospital, I don't know that for sure because I watched it, but I watched like a lot of the non-hospital stuff, so.
I feel like from what I've seen from like early 90s anyway, General Hospital, I feel like I saw them in like pink scrubs.
Probably.
Yeah.
It was probably like a transition from the 80s to the 90s.
We're already going way off topic. So back to Sheila.
Well, she's a nurse. So a nurse for
a nurse. And like I said, Lauren came in because she's having stomach pains. Apparently, she just found out about a week ago that she's pregnant. So, but we don't really know how far along she is. Sheila asks for her name, and when she says it, did anybody notice she kind of got a look like, oh, you're Lauren Fenmore? Now, do you think it was because like the Fenmores are known in Genoa City, or because she already has a crush on Scott, but we just don't know yet?
I think it's both.
You think it's both?
I don't know. I was confused about some of the clips we watched. Like, was Scott somewhere else? Like he was in Chicago or something?
He was in Boston.
Boston.
Because he was supposed to have a residency in Boston, and Sheila, because she's obsessed with him already, applied to transfer to Boston so she could continue to work with him. But then I guess once Scott found out about the miscarriage, he wanted to stay with Lauren, so he decided not to go to Boston.
So he never went to Boston. It was just talked about.
I think when he called at one point, he was in Boston, maybe checking the area or whatever.
That's probably why I was confused, because I'm like, because 1 minute I thought he was like in Boston because he wasn't able to be there for her.
Yeah.
And I was like, and then that's why I was confused with where Sheila was. So I was like, wait, is she flying back and forth to Boston? I'm confused. But now I get it.
Yeah. Sheila, Lauren, and
Paul.
I was like, where's his name? That white guy.
My problematic fave.
Yeah, tell everybody what you told me last night, Angel.
Okay. Here's what I told. Okay, this is right before the days. So this is where we're taping this. It's after the Days for Our Lives live stream. I have my issues with Doug Davidson. I think most of Twitter have our issues with Doug Davidson. But Paul can get it.
Like, I like Paul.
I do too.
It's okay to like the character.
Separate the character from the actor.
Exactly.
So that's right. So Paul was with Lauren while she was going through this, and she gets taken in to be seen, and we find out from the doctor that she's in the process of miscarrying.
Mm.
So he has to do a DNC, I think he said.
Yeah.
That's what it's called. And he said she's kind of like out of it right now. And Paul hangs around the hospital to make sure she's okay, make sure she gets home. She doesn't want to tell Scott. And I think it's at this point, I think it's because she doesn't want to ruin his chances of the residency in Boston. But also, I think she's not really sure if he wants to have kids. So she's kind of in the mindset of, I've lost it. Why tell him like about something that's just gonna hurt his feelings? Maybe.
Yeah.
Why? This is like the soap thing. Why? Why would you communicate with your spouse? You know.
Well,
and then she's. It seemed like she was early on in her pregnancy, so I'm wondering like if if this was like a first trimester, which unfortunately that happens, first trimester miscarriage, like that she lost the baby before entering this, because the first trimester is a very critical part of pregnancy. Right. So I've never been pregnant, but I've had people in my life who have been pregnant, and they don't tell anybody, like not a single soul, until that second trimester, that week of that second trimester, and then they spread news all over Facebook. So, but yeah, it's critical. But I think because she was in that critical first trimester, she probably is like, should I even like? Is this like a thing that I should even reveal to him? Because
I don't know. From what I've seen, so I've seen a lot of Lauren in the '80s, and she was an asshole.
Oh,
so like a complete asshole, especially with Tracy. Yeah. So I would think it would be more for selfish reasons for her at that point.
Yeah, that's it.
So I don't think it's exactly that. I feel like that would be for other characters. Maybe Marlena might think like that. But for Lauren, I feel like it might have been more about her in a way. Like, I don't know, that she wouldn't think of Scott first.
I did think about that too, about her being an asshole, as you like to say.
Yeah, she was.
Because there was one scene with Cricket, with Christine, and she called her Cricket, and I was like, didn't she bully her? I was like, are these two friends? And then I was like, oh no, she bullied Tracy. Did she bully Christine also? Like, where did does anybody know where this nickname Cricket came from?
I don't.
I thought that was just a name that she had, like a nickname from her parents. But
oh really? I thought it was like
I thought that was that, but
okay.
And I know that Phyllis called her the bug later, but because of the name. But
I do love that, and she still does currently call her Bug. It's pretty funny.
Really?
Yeah, referring to her sometimes.
Wasn't there a rumor, or maybe it's actual fact, that the actress didn't want to be called Cricket anymore at some point?
That would have made sense.
Because I feel
I'm not sure, because I feel like
and everybody just started calling her Christine.
I feel like only her close people, I feel like, call her Cricket. Like, I think Nina still does. Okay. Currently. Because they're best friends, so it makes sense. But maybe she meant it like as like, maybe everyone shouldn't call me Cricket, like you said, because she's a lawyer now, so take her more seriously.
Maybe.
But, yeah.
So, like I said, this spanned 2 months, but it was only 7 episodes worth of clips. At some point, she told Scott that she miscarried. And like we said before, he decided to stay and not go to Boston. And Sheila kind of manipulates him a little bit to kind of put it in a good word, because she had already given her notice to move to Boston, and she wants to not have a job, and she also wants to still work with him. So he says that he'll talk to somebody, and he does. She gets the phone call that she gets back, so that worked out for her.
I can see why she would be obsessed with him. I mean, he seems like a nice guy, and his big giant hair is everything.
His eyes too. You ever see him on Sunset Beach? He has these big blue eyes,
piercing blue eyes. Like, yeah,
and him in the opening credits with in the second opening credits with where he just looks at the camera. I'm like, oh, Peter Parker.
I'm not so much into him now, but like early to mid 90s Tommy would have been so into him.
That's funny.
It's just I said this to Eric before, I don't know if he remembers, but he reminds me of the guy that plays Ash in the Evil Dead movies.
Bruce Campbell.
Yeah. And also only recently found out, maybe within the last year, that he was in Friday the 13th, the final chapter, which was the fourth movie of like 10, so it was not the final
chapter. he has a brutal death in the shower.
And I guess because his name was more in the forefront of my mind because of Sunset Beach and YNR and Old, that's why I noticed it in the credits, and I was like, oh, Peter Barton.
Yeah.
So he seems to be twisted because he doesn't understand why Paul was there and why he spent the whole night. And I'm like, he was being a good friend to her. Like, you weren't there. Somebody had to be there for her. She was sick.
Like, you also must say that Paul and she were married in the past. I don't know how long their marriage was, but they seem very chummy in these episodes. And I get that he's there for her, but she could have called a girlfriend, unless she didn't have any girlfriends because she's a monster.
Well, Paul did mention in a talk with Scott that she doesn't have a lot of girlfriends.
That's why.
And that she tends to like put herself around guys a lot because she just gets along better with guys.
Like, so I started watching. I started watching in '99, so Lauren was kind of cleaned up by then. So I always knew her as like this good girl. And then so when Sheila came back in 2005, I was like, oh, okay, so she's gonna torment like because she's a good girl. But seeing Lauren like in the past, like knowing that now, I'm like, I'm glad she tormented her. She deserved it.
Yeah. Because during the
I would have been all about it.
During her marriage to Paul, I think it was during her marriage to Paul, she put him in like Playgirl.
Oh yeah, she did that.
Wait, that wasn't real?
Huh?
That wasn't real? I thought he actually like posed for Playgirl.
It was, but they wrote it in the storyline too. I remember reading that. Yeah.
And Mary was pissed. His mom, Mary, was pissed.
Yeah.
She was pissed.
Yeah, it was like a big storyline. Like I think like he was all humiliated and stuff. I forgot about that.
Oh wow, I like that.
Yeah,
promoted it.
Yeah, it was good stuff. They did that same thing, you know, with what is it? Jean, what's her name? I'm blanking. The Queen, the Grand Dame, Jeannie Cooper.
Yeah.
She did the same thing. Like she would do like real life things in her storylines.
Yeah, like the
facelift, her surgery.
The facelifts, yeah.
Yeah. It's funny because I actually saw that cover recently, I guess when it was circulating. I don't know if he posted it or somebody else posted it to kind of like rub it in his face because the actors recently did Playgirl.
Yeah.
But so Paul, is just trying to explain that he was just being there for her as a friend. And Scott flat out asked him, the baby was his?
Yeah.
Meaning Paul's, not his as in me, him.
Yeah.
And Paul says no. And he says, did you ask Lauren? And he says, yeah. And he was like, that probably went over like a lead balloon.
Right. I mean, I don't blame them for being curious because they are very tight in these episodes.
Yeah.
So Lauren, knowing how Lauren was in the 80s anyway, and what she is now, and I was like, she must be in like transition into what she becomes now. Because she seems kind of mellow. But she's hot in the ass because she's dreaming about Paul, making love with Paul.
Yeah. Yep.
And he told her to try for like a few months, I guess, to work on her marriage. And she basically was like, let's be together. Like, she's not going to be able to focus on her marriage if she's dreaming about her ex.
Mm-hmm.
I think she's just vulnerable because of the baby, and Paul's been there, and Scott really hasn't, so I just feel like it's a vulnerable situation for her.
But like in high school, didn't she fight with Tracy over Brad?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And like we're eventually gonna get there. So, but spoiler alert and non-spoiler alert. She cheats on Scott. I keep forgetting his name. Scott with Brad. Because it's this whole crossover storyline with Sheila, and Sheila like takes a picture of them in bed together, and she ends up sending the picture in puzzle pieces. She like mails like one piece at a time.
Oh, that's fun. I never heard that.
Like,
spoiler alert.
Catherine did to Jill and oh my gosh, I think it's Jill and Jack or Jill and Jack.
Yeah, I heard about that. So I heard about that after I saw the Sheila one, and I was like, oh, I was like, they did that twice. Were puzzles a big thing in the early 90s?
Maybe they
puzzles. Where can I purchase a puzzle like that?
Maybe they released like a Young and the Restless puzzle, and they were like promoting it by every puzzle storyline.
Right, because Lauren had come over to Bold, and she needed something to hold over Lauren, so she wouldn't tell Eric who she was and about her past. But we will get there down the line.
We're very early on.
So the last scenes that we watched must have been a rerun at some point because they were great quality. The last 7 minutes quality.
Probably.
And there was like a more modern ad for another TV show at the bottom of the screen.
Yeah.
It was like SEAL Team.
Probably during COVID.
Yeah, maybe. We were running those classic episodes.
Yeah.
So it's Scott's birthday. And apparently Lauren had planned this like extravagant surprise party. I don't remember what restaurant she said, but I know they had like fancy restaurants on the show back then. And this is where we see her and Cricket all dressed up in their ball gowns and jewelry. Cricket looks so young. I was just like, did the teenagers just dress up like this all the time on the show?
Yeah.
And she's worried because Scott didn't show up to the party, and she had it was a surprise party, but she had left a message with the nurse for him to meet her at this restaurant. And she called to check that he got it, and the nurse said that she did. I wonder who the nurse was. So then we see Scott with Sheila at her apartment. Through the dialogue, I picked up that they went out for a birthday drink, and then she wasn't feeling well, so he brought her home.
She was luring him.
Yeah.
And keeping him away from the party.
Also, Kimberlyn Brown has not aged that much. She
hasn't.
She looked the same for like 20 years.
Yeah.
She's definitely aged a little bit. Like, let's be honest, we've all aged. But like, there was a good.
I think she looks better now.
Exactly the same.
Yeah, I think she looks better now.
So Lauren's freaking out because she doesn't know where he is. She says she's called every hospital and they don't have any record of him. And Cricket's trying to like calm her down. She's like, that's a good thing. And she's like, what if he's like on the side of the road and they haven't found him yet and like he's dying? And I'm like, life before we were so connected by cell phones and social media.
Right.
You couldn't get a hold of somebody. They're dead. They're dead.
No, they're not. They'll never come back. Bye. No.
But so he hangs out with Sheila a little bit longer. He actually tries to call Lauren, and she misses the phone call by like a split second. Like he hangs up as she's answering.
Of course.
So he's like, I guess I can hang out a little while. I'm like, oh, okay, Austin Reed, the typical gullible guy that's gonna.
Yeah.
So he comes home and Lauren is relieved. She like goes running into his arms and he tells her what happened and she immediately like flips to angry. Cricket's happy that he's there and she leaves. And when he says that he was having a birthday drink with a nurse, she's like, you got off your shift at 6 o'clock. She's like, you've been having a birthday drink this whole time.
It's a long drink.
With a nurse. And I guess she was like, who was she? And he's like, a nurse. He would say who was.
Right.
And she basically, I don't know, I feel like she's almost like a little bit accusatory that he might be cheating, and I'm just like, girl, you're not the one to be pulling this card.
No.
Even
But
when
she didn't sleep with Paul at this point, though, yet, right? As far as we know.
wants to, and she's dreaming about it, even though she
Well,
says she
yeah.
doesn't remember the dream. She remembers.
She was waking up hot and sweaty.
Especially since she was married to him, so she knows what it feels like to have sex with him. She knows.
Oh yeah.
So I want to point out earlier in the clips when I was the secretary. So, so Lauren shows up to see Paul.
Mm-hmm.
Lynn, the secretary, is there, and she has a flashback of him saying, "Why did you get yourself remarried?" Like, I feel like her storyline the whole time was like her crushing on Paul. Like every time I watch these episodes, it's like her crushing on Paul.
Was she
any of the randoms? She was so on Young and the Restless back then. Everybody had a sidekick. It was like Paul had Lynn, Phyllis had some babysitter that she confided in.
Tim Reed. Dr. Tim
And
Reed?
she had Tim. She had a couple of different people. Jill had her lawyer man. I forget his name. But like everybody had a sidekick. Yeah, I think so. But nobody like has anybody anymore. They're all on their own. It's really weird.
Budget. They can't afford to pay these people.
That's exactly right. That's exactly right. They like cut the recurring cast. But I liked it back then. I liked having those people around because they did help with stories sometimes.
I feel like Days had that too. Like you had like recurring people in the hospital.
Yeah.
In the high school and the police station.
Yeah. No, they can't afford it. Nobody's there.
Yeah, so I guess Paul is fighting his feelings for Lauren still. Like, I don't know when they broke up. Because Lauren made a comment that they've only been married a few months. And I was like, you've only been married a few months and you're already having all this drama?
Right.
Won't be a soap opera.
This is supposed to be your honeymoon phase. And
I mean, if you saw
each other of cheating on each other,
dude, if you saw who was it, Lucinda on As the World Turns, like with a different man every week. So I mean, and she marries them quick, it seems too. But anyway,
really? Huh? And I know Lucinda. I know like 2000 Lucinda. I don't really know. Lucinda. Huh. So yeah, so Sheila's pretty proud of herself that she was able to get Scott there. I laughed because she kept it together while he was there, and the minute he closed the door and left, she was just like, "I love you so much." Like, okay, there it is.
There's the crazy. So
now,
funny.
I know that her mother eventually comes on the show, and she's
Sheila's
like,
right.
Sheila's mom.
Yeah.
Was she a contract player? Does anybody know?
I don't know.
Who, Kimberly or the mom?
The mom.
I would think she's just recurring.
Yeah, I think she would be recurring.
Because based off of like Sheila being on Bold and like she would have phone calls with her mom, it almost made it seem like her mom was still like an active character on YNR while she was
doubt it. I doubt it.
Unless it was just that side of town that we never see on Young and the Restless.
Yeah, probably.
Like poor Charles, like that's the part of the hospital that we only see.
Yeah. Exactly.
But yeah, I think that's all that really happened. A lot of accusations of infidelity over 2 months. Sheila's getting the ball rolling on luring him into her bed. Scott, that is. I don't know what happens, but I have a feeling Lauren's gonna cheat.
Oh, I'm so sure it's gonna happen.
Because that could be something that like Sheila uses against her to get Scott.
I thought that's what you said already. Did you say that already or no?
No, that's later. That's like later with
another time.
yeah, with Brad. But I told you, Lauren's hot in the ass.
Oh, I know.
Probably gonna get pregnant again.
Yeah.
Did I forget anything you guys want to know?
I feel like this is probably the turning point for Lauren with everything she goes through with Sheila. I'm guessing is what turns Lauren into a good girl
A
now,
heroine?
a heroine type. Yeah, because right now she still ain't no heroine to me. Not in this year.
I was watching 2006 when she looked like Phyllis,
Hmm.
and they had her locked
Good
in a
stuff.
cage.
Yeah.
And come to think of it, it was Paul.
Yep.
Paul's always there,
Paul
right?
had her in the prison thing.
And then when they showed Lauren what was going on, she was like, "Let the bitch die."
Yeah. Yeah, because she was tormented.
The only cage I remember is Brad in the cage.
Oh, because I think she stabbed herself. Because
Oh yeah, she did. Yeah, she did.
and then Lauren saw her and she was like, "Let the bitch die."
Because she knew Paul would probably get her out to once Sheila gets out of the whatever she predicament she's in, she's good to go.
Yeah.
She always had like a plan to escape.
With her 9 toes.
Now 10.
No,
How did
it's
she
not
get
10.
what recently? They found there
So
were
it
10
was
toes.
Sugar. It was Sugar who died.
Okay, so who is
Oh,
Sugar? Can somebody explain who Sugar is?
Robin Matson's character, but it's a whole thing.
Robert Matson was on YNR.
She was on Bold and
no,
Beautiful.
Bold and the Beautiful.
Oh, I thought Sugar was a YNR character.
No, Sugar's a Bold and Beautiful character because she was a part of the militia. That's Sheila. I know it's a whole thing.
Militia. I haven't
It's
seen
a lot.
Militia, but I
It's
groan
a
every time
whole
I hear
thing.
Militia.
There is a militia. At some point there is a militia. Yes. And the person who died recently, when Brad Bell lied to us that Sheila died, that was really Sugar.
I rolled my eyes so hard at that headline with Kimberlyn Brown being like she was shocked, she didn't know. I was like, "Girl, you knew. Stop lying. We all knew you weren't dead." It was the worst
I
time
don't want to call you the B word, but you knew.
They literally just killed her off last year and this year. So I mean,
last month they killed her.
right? Like
It's like,
it's just a joke at like at this point. It's Stefano. It's the same thing.
Yeah.
Nobody ever dies, which is fine because I like the character and I like the story, so it's fun.
Yeah, I roll my eyes, but sometimes I don't know. I get a kick out of the over the top stuff.
I do too. I accept it.
Like the whole 10 toes thing, I got a good chuckle out of that.
Same.
I just wish it was still 1999 for Bold and Beautiful because that's when it was good. And I was to be so young to watch Bold and Beautiful.
Do you guys have any predictions of what might happen next if you don't already know?
I really don't know. I never seen this stuff. The only thing I've seen was when they re-aired during COVID. I think it was Sheila, her mom, and Lauren in a cabin set on fire. But I don't know what led up to that point. I'm assuming I don't know. I don't know what year it was.
So we'll get there eventually, but that fire is basically her exit storyline, where she dies in that fire and then goes over.
Oh, her first death.
The first one. The first one.
We'll name it that. Sheila's first death. That'll be fun.
See my crystal ball.
We'll title that podcast "The Death of Sheila" and in parentheses #1.
Because I feel like she dies at least 8 times.
I see my crystal ball, a baby, a birthmark, something.
A birthmark. Oh, I've heard about this.
I know. I heard Sheila has all these kids, but I don't know when she has all of these kids.
I was hoping that Finn was like, no, that's not gonna. No, that wouldn't have worked. See, I was hoping that Finn had something to do with Scott, but it wouldn't have worked.
Has Sheila actually ever been pregnant on screen? Have we ever seen her with a baby bump?
With Diana, that's all. That was Diana and Mary, Erica Lovegood. Yeah.
Okay. Who's Diana?
Diana is her child with Massimo Moroni that we never see.
What?
Yeah.
That's what I mean. Like, she has all these kids.
I have a kid.
She has 3 kids while Finn's one of them, and then like I don't know where they came from or where they went.
What about,
one of them was on YNR at one point, weren't they?
Too. There was Daisy and Ryder.
Yeah, I was gonna say, what about Daisy and Ryder?
Callahan. I think those two were before she came to town.
They were Sheila having all of these children. It's really strange.
I have no
But yeah, she's like hyper focused on Finn. What about all your other kids?
Yeah, go find your other kids.
Why Mary isn't around? I get it. That part I get. I don't get
don't spoil it because I don't know. I haven't seen that yet, so don't spoil it.
Yeah. Oh no. It's a very gross reason. We're not going to mention it.
Well, I guess we'll see it eventually.
All right.
Thank you, Casey Kasperick, for uploading Bold and Beautiful, because we'll be watching the show stuff for a long time now.
Yeah, I think I'm in season 2 somewhere. Lost track. Maybe 3. I forget.
I am in 1994, so season.
Oh, I'm jumping around.
9. I've been watching it pretty like consistently from the beginning over the last 3 years. So. But all right, before I wrap this up, anything else?
Nope.
I don't think so.
All right. Well, thank you for joining us for our first Sheila Carter podcast. I'm excited to get more into the weeds with her. As always, you can find us on all the socials at Queers and Soaps. And until next time, have a great weekend. Bye.
Bye.